How's it going, everybody? Want to check is the audio okay and the video all right? Everything coming through all right? Hi, Mark, neighbor. How you doing? Hey, we're getting a break today, Alexander. Hi, Rel. Mark again. Oh, sounds good. Great. Um, Finally got it figured out. Oh, good, good. Everything is working out all right. I'm gonna try. Let me see if I can get a little more light in here. This is my light adjustment stick. There we go. Ah, there. Boy, it went from early spring to midsummer here. Hi, Big Sal. Caesar, how are things in Indonesia? It's night there. Here it's morning. Hi, Dominic. Anyway, what I wanted to talk about today, hi, Bruce, is the where um yeah, where we're going in terms of or where the watch industry seems to be going. And there seem to be two different directions. I'm talking about what might be classified as luxury watches. And luxury watches are the way that I see them. It's not in terms of the bling. You can have a cheap quartz watch in $1 million jewelry setting, but rather the the kind of quality, the whole notion of high horology is, I don't know, that's sort of been, they change it whenever it suits them, it seems. So, what I wanted to talk about today, we'll call them luxury watches, and these are watches that, are over, at least over $1,000 and then going up from there. You have sort of on the lower end, you have watches like Longines and Tissot, and then you sort of move up into the mid-level ones, Rolex and Omega and the Glashütte Original. And then there's sort of what, the top tier, and most of the top tier, I think have more and more become independents. Uh, like, let me think if I can think of some. FP Jorn, that would be one, and Kari Voutilanen, uh, Urban Jurgensen, all of the very top. Now, you have these other ones like Patek Philippe, and they're sort of, I mean, they're great watches, but they're not the same ever since they started putting silicon in them. Rick. I mean, they're wonderfully made watches. There's no doubt about that. And let me say something about silicon hairsprings. They work really well. I mean, extremely well. They're not as affected by heat and cold as transitional metals. They keep their shape better. They don't need adjustment, and you really can't adjust them. And a lot of other features to them, and that's why they were, I think, introduced. They're also the development costs, I think, were substantial, but once developed, they become very cheap. They come out in these like sheets, and the hairsprings are all in the same sheet, and they take them out, and they're all uniform. That's another thing about them. Whereas the traditional ones have a number of issues. One of the biggest is magnetization, and some of them, like, Navarox, I think that's how you say it, is, that was one that they tried to make it anti-magnetic, and it is to some extent. But then you have ones, the really good ones, like Rolex's, Blue Parachrome, and, probably the best one would be, from H. Moser's, Precision Engineering, the Strassmann hairspring, made out of, niobium and, titanium, really excellent ones, and they can be adjusted. Now, the other day, I had done a review of Glashütte Original. Boy, I think it was called the Inverse. Not sure about the name of it, but they have this wonderful, looks like a butterfly double regulator. Okay. And originally, what that regulator did, one side would adjust the beat, and then the other regulator, and they're both swan neck regulators, and the other one would adjust the tension of the spring. So that would be the frequency. It'd make it a little slower, a little faster to get it just right. And that's what regulators do. And and the and reading about the one of the latest releases that they had, and this is to me, it was probably written by Swatch, um, not the Glashütte original group, but it sounds like something written by a not a some spin doctor, and they call them regulator free. Well, regulator free, like what, a free range chicken? I have no idea what they're talking about. They they have this double regulator on there for beat and frequency, and then they say it's regulator free. Well, if it's regulator free, what are these guys doing here? It reminded me, I don't know, when I go to the grocery store, people often have their little kids they have a thing, are in a child's seat. They have a steering wheel. It doesn't do anything. It's just for something to play with. And that's what this double butterfly regulator does, because there's nothing that you can't do anything with the frequency because silicon is too brittle, and so you can't have that kind of regulation. I know that Omega has one that they can regulate a little, but the thing of it is that that's sort of like that's one direction. Now another thing where you see that, I mean, this is sort of the logical conclusion. Way back when, and sort of with the invention of what they like to call high horology, what happened was that they wanted to have an alternative to quartz. Okay, they don't wanna have quartz anymore because the quartz were, and so they had to come up with something. So they came up with the whole concept of high horology, and by that time too, the Geneva Seal with having certain standards and so on and so forth. So figure, well, we're gonna get behind this, and the heck with the quartz people. They can, and we can charge, a lot more money, and we'll have better finishing and all of this other good stuff, as opposed to a battery and some little vibration machine. So they did that, and that was how they, quote, escaped from the quartz crisis, such as it was. Okay, so now the thing of it was that they they still haven't been able to beat quartz, even with their silicon hairspring. What the silicon hairspring does, it gives you a stable hairspring, and at 4 hertz, I mean, you take a quartz and you've got, like, I don't know, 1,000 hertz or something crazy like that. And so you're really not, I mean, quartz works better, period. It was a timekeeper. And the smartwatches work even better than that. And so people are thinking, wow, this will make our watches run better. All right. Well, yeah. Yeah, but we know that. Um, Not long ago, my wife, who's got a nice regular collection of watches, but, um, at some point she wanted an Apple Watch, and so we got her a, who was it? Hermes. Hermes has a version of the big old, Apple Watch, and it's got a horsey on it. It was sorta cool. Anyway, so she got that and she wears it all the time, just this giant one. And I was noticing on TV shows and different kinds of places like that, most women pictured as business women and women of, they have those great big, even ones who aren't rich, they've got those great big Apple watches. Okay, that's sort of, you want a really great watch. That's what they get. That'll tell you, how many steps you've taken and, get up off the couch and, and walk around. Those things will do anything and plus give you incredibly accurate time. All right. So if we're talking about, well, we're going to make the timing better by taking away something, by taking away regulation, for example, what's the point? I mean, we know the logical conclusion. If you're going to start putting in things you can't regulate with a regulator, why not just get an Apple Watch? Or even if you don't have the money for an Apple Watch, which is like, I think a dirt cheap, halfway decent mechanical watch costs you it's more than the top of the line Apple Watch. So I mean, so this is sort of the situation I see we're in. But then I see this trend, and it's primarily due to three sources: Rolex, not so much so, but Patek Philippe, and also Swatch. Now with Rolex made a lot of interesting decisions. They had this new one that came out. I forgot what the number on it was, but it's sort of, it's not one of their usual ones. And they have it's a automatic, and they have a brand new everything with it. Nice looking watch. I like it. Forgot what it's called, the 90 something, I think. Anyway, that watch, they put a silicon hairspring in it. What do they do that for? They have this wonderful blue parachrome, made out of titanium and chromium, and it's uh, very anti-magnetic. And all of the men's watches have that, except this new one. And I'm thinking, what do you know? Where are they going? Excuse me. So that's what I wanted to kick around with you guys. Is it now? On the other hand, the independents, they're just being independent. You talk to an independent watchmaker. I have. I said, you guys gonna get around to put it in silicon hairspring, and then they look at me like I'm a heretic. Like, what? What will we do that for? We're making our watches are based on craftsmanship and all of these other good things. Anyway, okay, so let's see what you gotta say. I've had my say about this, and yeah, by the way, too, the independents are keeping on with the craftsmanship. Some smaller companies that are popping up, they seem to be of two types. One type I'll call the um, watchmaker centric kind, and these are people who are really honest to God watchmakers. They know how to make a movement and so forth. Gerbel Force, Caribou and Lanham, FP Journe, those guys. And so that's there's and we can't afford them. That's the only problem. And then you have some of these newer guys, and some of them are, I think, have really been trying to get together with a movement. Some of these, they're not, they're in a way sort of doing something that Larique has been trying to do, and that is get the old fashioned, high super quality, high craftsman watches together at an affordable price. And some of the other ones, I'm trying to think. Some of them have been more or less successful. A lot of them, what they do, they had a really nice looking watch, and they got some cheap movement, so something that's more affordable. And there are ways to do that. I'm looking into how to make a really not inexpensive, but relatively. more affordable watch with all the top stuff in there. Okay, all right, I'll shut up. Let's see what you got to say. Do you consider we are living in a rebirth of mechanical watches for reasons that are not uh, properly from the industry itself? I don't know. I don't know that that I think the rebirth came, and then well, I'm glad you had that question. That's I sort of left something out. Um, McFed What I left out was another trend, and that's LVMH, Louis Vuitton, Morris Hennessy. They have a number of watch companies that they own, not a whole lot. They have Louis Vuitton, and I think they have Gucci and a few others. Um, and what they've done is that they're sort of bringing back uh, some of the great traditional watchmakers. Now, they don't have to dig them up. Um, Daniel Roth is still kicking and alive, but he's sort of off making these, 100,000, dollar watches, onesies and so forth. Um, I think he maybe makes maybe possibly 3 a year, and he has financial backing, but there's doesn't seem to be going anywhere. And so they decided that since LVMH owns Gucci, and what is it, Gucci? No, not Gucci, but Bulgari. Bulgari is the one they own and owns the name and probably all of the old models. Well, LVMH owns them, and so what they can do is bring that back. Now, the interesting thing about bringing it back is that Daniel Roth pretty much turned around Breguet back in, I think it was the 1980s when he was working for the Chaumet brothers before they tried to corner the diamond market and went bust. But so you have this going on now. Other people, I think, are going to be looking at that. They're going to say, "Well, who else can we sort of dig up and bring back?" Maybe Breguet might even say, "Well, maybe we ought to look at Abraham Louis Breguet's and keep the silicon out." The reason, see, this is another thing that happened. And this is what makes it difficult. Some of the best watch companies, like Breguet, like Blancpain, like Glasuti Original, are now owned by Swatch. I mean, Swatch is basically identified with cheap watches, whether they like it or not. I mean, they're fun watches, but I don't know. They bought for $1 billion. I think they bought uh, Harry Winston, but what Harry Winston would do, they would hire these fabulous watchmakers, and they would have all these incredible watches, uh, such as Roger Dubuis and Jean-Marc Viderec, for example. These are two of them, but then they had their annual, what do they call it? The Opus or something like that. And the first watch they had within the Opus line was F.P. Journe's Resonance that was sort of fixed up. What a watch that was. Anyway, so I mean, like, who else can do that? Who else can sort of dig back and say, hey, we're going to bring out some of the traditional ones? I'll tell you one company that could do it would be Patek Philippe. They're gonna say, well, maybe what we'll do is for you guys, the ones who want Craftsman all the way through, including a regulator, we'll bring back the Calatrava from 1995 or something like that, or actually anything before 2009. And these are the good old days. Anyway, we're gonna see what happens. Okay, let's see some more of this wisdom you have. Okay, Dominic. Dominic's a pro metal guy. I know Dominic. I have no idea how pro metal Dominic is, and all the way not a fan of composites, plastic, silicon, and especially silicone. Hey, James. Any idea of what Fabergé uses for a hairspring? Well, it depends what movement's in them. I mean, they don't make their own movements. They have I know that they do have a chronograph with a, um, agongaph movement, and the hairspring and those is whatever they had. I'm not sure, more recently, I know that in our watch, in the, Etude number 1 by Larique, and I didn't realize this until just recently. I thought they were using the, ones from, uh, Autocalpa, and they were at one time, but then I guess they changed to, um, precision engineering, and precision engineering makes the Strassmann hairspring, which is, to me, the best hairspring, best, transitional metal hairspring there is. So, I don't know, so whatever Fabergé movement is, I don't think Fabergé even makes that decision. I say give it to a movement maker and say, "Hey, guys, make us a good movement." Uh, Fabergé probably has some quartz movements in them too. Hey, Websy. I don't see anything wrong with using innovative materials and watches to improve efficiency and performance. Not saying anything is wrong with it, but I'm saying if you want, if you get into mechanical watchmaking, if you want improved efficiency and performance, get a smartwatch. Those things outperform everything, and you don't have to worry about anything other than that. Put them on, charge them every now and then, and you're good to go. Silicon, is lots cheaper and easier to make than metal hairspring. That's true, and you can't magnetize it. That's true, that's true. That's Tim, you hit the nail on the head. See, the thing is that I probably if I were gonna get one watch and all I cared about was having, let's say that I'm gonna get a Patek Philippe, and so I can wear my Patek Philippe at work, and people who don't know Jack will say, "Hey, that guy's got a Patek Philippe." And my Patek Philippe, I wouldn't have to worry about having it adjusted or anything else. I just wear it and wear it and wear it. Good looking watch, well made, and so forth. And there's a silicone hairspring. But I'm a watch collector, which means I don't have a brain in my head. I've got a I like traditional watchmaking. I like a regulator that actually regulates, not some kind of little toy wheel that they have on that beautiful, double swan neck that they have that only half of it's used, even if that's used. It's a really amazing kind of thing that's done. But, Websy, if that's what you want, that's what you want. I'm not, selling anything. I'm telling you what I think is important. Hey, John, good morning to you, and Chris, how you guys doing? Koji? 1908, that's it, Koji. Uh, Bridget, Begay, my favorite brand, won't buy the new ones. Yeah, me too. They really wrecked it for me. That really bugs me. Because I really like the, brigade tradition, but I mean, where's the tradition when you have a rotor that looks like, Abraham Louis Breguet made it, and then you've got this you can't with no regulator. I mean, no working regulator. You got the little toy wheel. Hey, Bruce. Let's see. Hey, Thirsty Al the third. Does silicone last as long? That's a point. Good point, Thirsty Al. This was brought up by Roger Smith. Roger Smith says he's got mechanical watches that are 300 years old and they still work. Um, we don't know. I mean, maybe there's a certain point that the brittleness of it is gonna, pretty soon you open it up and there's nothing but dust in there because it fell apart. I don't know really. Maybe it'll last until, the end of the earth. Who knows? We just don't know for sure. I wouldn't. That's one of those things. So let's see. Um, okay, let's see. Will you explain what's the silicon is? Sure, I'd be glad to. If you look at the periodic table of elements, okay, you've got a whole bunch of metals called transitional metals, and this is iron and so forth, kinds, titanium, and so on and so forth. Then you have this other group of metals called metalloids, okay, and they include silicon, arsenic. They have this other stuff they make bullets out of too. So I don't know. This is just sort of a different place on a periodic table. But they've been able to do in terms of massive progressive stuff. Yeah, they've done all kinds of things. I worked in silicon a good hunk of my career because I was writing code for. In fact, I was writing code for smart watches and making a watch work with code is so much easier than it is with actual mechanical uh, parts. It just is. And so you can whip up anything you want. This is why you even with a quartz watch, you get a quartz watch, man, that thing's got everything in it. It has far more complications than you're going to find in anything but the very best mechanical watch. So yeah, there are all kinds of those kinds of advantages. Uh, anyway, hey, Apar, let's see. Fabergé Lady Complete Peacock uses caliber 6901 from Aganar. Yeah, if they use the 6901, AGH 6901, my guess is is that it's either at that time, at one time I had asked Nicholas Viderek, I said, do you guys use the Straumann hairspring? And he said, no, we use uh, Atto Culpa. We use the Atto Culpa. And okay. And so I assumed that probably in there. But then not long ago, I said, well, our watch, our Etude number 2, has the Atto Culpa in there because they have this special regulator called the Agon Pit regulator, which is really cool. And he said, no, that one's from Precision Engineering, which is what? So, uh, lady, the 6901, AGH 6901, it could have either one, and I'm just not sure. Hey, Mark, how are things in Singapore? You're having nice sunshine, I guess. Hey, Tuna, a bit cheaper, but I just bought a Hamilton Enstomatic. I don't think that has a silicon hairspring. I don't know. It's really funny. Some of the ones that instead of talking about it, I had to go down and buy a Tissot. What do they call it? Petite Seconde. That's what I had to get, and it's got a ETA 6809. Wait, 6498 hairspring in it. Runs at 18 semi oscillations per hour. What a sweet watch! And it's about 300 or 400 bucks, something like that. They're really well discounted. Um, I think also the Powermatic 80, I think they have 3 versions, and one of the versions is silicon, the other 2 aren't. So, so there. Hey, Dark Star, it's like enjoying a manual combustion car than driving an electric car. you know, one, one's, yeah. There was, I tell you, if I had an electric car, I'd have sound effects in there. I'd put the sound effects in there for Bugatti in a race or something like that. Yeah, I think that this is why that if they're going to put you know to call something regulator free, why not just say we put in silicon? Because I think more and more watch collectors, they know what's going on. They're not as dumb as we used to be. And then they get to, "Wow, it's an improvement." Yeah, I'm not it's an improvement, but so's a smartwatch. So if you're gonna go the silicon route, do it right. Okay, what else you guys talking about? Um, hey, Adam, what do you think about Dro's automation watches? Oh, that's a little different. You mean like Charming Bird and those kinds of things, Adam? Um, I think those automata is very much a mechanical thing, and they go back way back. It's funny. Some of the early porn was done with automata in watches by Jacques-Droz. I think I'm not sure if they did it or not. Beauvais may have also done it, but they did it with this great, incredible automata, and all it was porn. It's funny. Ah, hey Eugene, how you doing? Good to see you too. Hey, tuna petite seconda. Yeah, I was tempted by one. I am too. I still got if I got one of those things, I don't know what. Maybe if I just got my taxes done, and so if I get anything back on taxes, maybe I'll have a little that I can go get one of those for. Okay, let's see. I have the Tissot PRX Chrono Valjoux 7750 with a date pusher. Yeah. Now some of these, the 7753, this is one of the funny things. The Valjoux 7753 is probably ETA now, okay? But ETA really shouldn't be a dirty word because I think the thing that gave ETA a bad name were companies like who were they? I what ICW, is that it? International? Anyway, that they gave some phony baloney name to the movement, but all it was an ETA. And ETAs, the way they had them done, they're good movements. They have different levels, but they're still pretty good. They're just not these in-house, really sort of more handmade, not handmade, but toward that end. What is the big deal to disclose what's inside the watch by these companies? Great question. Why is it a big deal? Why don't they tell the truth? I love it. It's a regulator free, just like a free range chicken. Like, they're driving a little in the kitty cart, steering a wheel that doesn't work. I don't know why that cracks me up. And but then the other side, oh, this is progress. Sure, but no, that's not progress. Smartwatch is progress. Oh God. Okay, let's see. Did you get your cap? Where did you get your cap? FP Jorn gave it to me. They had a oops, the New York boutique. Uh, there was some things I did some things for them, and so they thought, oh, we'll give them a cap. I wish you'd give me another watch. Okay. I shot watches, IWC. That's who I was thinking of. They got, I guess some of these companies that did that, I became, um, I just sort of like so disappointed in them. You know what, guys? Usually, ranchers here, someone says it's frying pan time. My wife gives me a half hour that I can enjoy myself, and then I gotta go. So I've got to run. Listen, this afternoon, this is what I'd like to talk about at 4 o'clock New York daylight time. What I want to talk about is what would you like to see? What direction would you like them to go in two ways? On the one hand, we can get all of the wonderfully crafted watches we want as long as we have a pile of money from independent watchmakers, okay? Like FP Journe, like uh, Kari Vutenline, like Gerbil and Force, like the Gronfeld brothers. But where where is something that the that we would say, okay, this is where we'd really like to see more of. And uh, so let me know. This afternoon we can talk about it. Adios, Brian. Take care. All right, guys. Uh, have a great day. It's not as hot here out on the East Coast as it was yesterday, so we get to cool off a little.